Tra la la tra la tra la la tra la la tra la tra la.
Welcome again, ladies and gents. Today we're going to do a quick tutorial on how to calculate molar mass. So things you'll need to be successful: one periodic table, a calculator, and something to take some notes on. So make sure you have all those things handy before you watch this video. So we've been talking a lot about the mole and how we can use this idea of counting by weighing. So one thing we need to understand is what the term molar mass means. We've learned that the idea of the mole is based off of the numbers we see on the periodic table. And what those numbers represent is what we call the molar mass. And so that's just defined as the mass of 1 mole of any substance, either an element or a compound, based on those numbers on the periodic table. So the simplest question we could ask you would be, what is the molar mass of a single element? So in this case, if I wanted to know what the mole of one element of copper is, I would look at my handy dandy periodic table, I would find the element copper, and all I have to do is write down the numbers I see right there. So in this case, 1 mole of copper has a mass of 63.546 grams. So elements, super easy. Compounds, not much harder. All you have to do to figure out the molar mass of a compound is add the masses of each element together. So if I wanted to figure out the molar mass of 1 mole of water, since I have 2 hydrogens, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mass of 1 hydrogen and multiply it by 2. So on my periodic table, I see the mass is 1.0079. So the mass of my hydrogens in water is 2 times that number. I then add it to the mass of my oxygens. Because this compound only has 1 oxygen, I would just add it to 15.999. Now when we're doing these problems, you're just going to take all the numbers you see on your calculator at the end of your math. So I would do 2 times 1.0079, and I would add it to 15.999. And when you do that in your calculator, you get a mass of 18.0148 grams. Now we can make these compounds a little bit more complex by adding in the idea of a polyatomic ion. So when you have a polyatomic ion, remember if you have a subscript outside of the parentheses, that applies to the entire polyatomic ion. So in this compound, I've got 1 Be, I've got 2 Ns, and I've got 2 times 3, which is 6 Os. So I'm adding the molar mass of this compound together. I'm going to find the mass of 1 Be on my periodic table, which is 9.0122. I'm going to add that to 2 times my mass of nitrogen. So if I find the mass of nitrogen on my periodic table, it's 14.007. And I'm going to add that to 6 of my oxygen masses, because remember 2 times 3 is 6 again. So I would do 6 times 15.999. Now in your calculator you can break this up into a series of steps. You can do 2 times 14.007, get a number, 6.15.99, get a number, and then add your 3 numbers together, or you can do it in one fell swoop. You can do 9.0122 plus 2 times 14.007 plus 6.15.999. If you do that, you should get the same answer either way of 133.0202 grams. Now, one last thing that we could ask you to do to make these problems just a little bit more complex is to pull on your knowledge of ion charges from first semester. So I could not give you the pre-main compound. I could instead say, I want 1 mole of the compound made with beryllium and sulfur. So for this, I have to make the compound first before I can get the molar mass. So I need to look back at my periodic table and remember how to get my ion charges. So beryllium is in here in column 2, which means he wants to lose 2 electrons. So he's a +2 ion. Sulfur is all the way over here in column 6. He wants to gain 2, so he's a -2 ion. Because these ion charges are the same, my compound would just be BeS. If they're not the same, that's where you would have to use subscripts until the ion charges reached a total of 0. So for me to get the molar mass of this compound, I would add together just the mass of 1 Be and an S. So I have the mass of Be from above, from the periodic table, and then I would go to my periodic table and find the mass of S, which in this case is 32.065 grams. I would then add these two values together to get a total mass of 41.007 grams. And that's it. That's how you calculate molar mass. You simply just use the numbers provided on the periodic table and add them together to get the mass for your compound, or look at the individual mass if it's just one element. If you have any questions, make sure you ask your teacher. Otherwise, venture away on the game board, kids. Good luck.